should Lonnie jump on. But we'll move over to our next question, which comes from RP2048, who asks, what's a better general catch-all card? The 2 times Wells Fargo Active Cash. I'm going to add the 2 times Citi Double Cash, the 2x Capital One Venture X, or the 1.5 times Chase Freedom Unlimited. Keep in mind, if you get the 1.5x in the portal, he's talking about the Chase with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. You get an effective return on spend when redeemed for travel at 2.25, whereas everything else is at 2%. I'm going to start with I don't understand the well, I do and I don't understand the qualifier. Adding the qualifier is convincing yourself that you don't need to worry about everything else. Just stick with the Freedom Unlimited. With that qualifier with the Sapphire Reserve, and that assumes that you have the Sapphire Reserve. If you don't have the Sapphire Reserve, you either have a flat 1.5, which is less than 2, or you have the Sapphire Preferred, which will bump up at 25% to 1.83 times, effective 1.83% when redeemed for travel through the portal using the Sapphire Preferred. Yeah, which is still less than 2. I think for me, and RJ and I spoke about this a little bit in the pre-show, realistically, if you're going to get the flat earning card, whether it's 1.5 or 2 in an ecosystem, you're likely pairing it with the best possible option for redeeming points in that ecosystem. So if you have the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey, or if Wells Fargo decides to launch Beyond at any point, Autograph Beyond at any point, like, it makes the most sense to pair the active cash with that, because the active cash is going to give you that floor. If you're invested in Capital One, it makes sense to pay for Venture or Venture X, and Venture X news is what it is, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then it makes sense to pair with Saver, assuming you can get Saver. So I think the ecosystem that you're in, the ecosystem that you want to be in, the ecosystem that works best for you for whatever your needs are going to be, it through the portal, be it through transfer partners, because you're not even taking into account, like, I could move my active cash 2% to the autograph, and then the autograph, I could transfer those points out to British Airways, and then use my British Airways Avios to book Qatar and do Q suites and have an amazing redemption that comes out to 6 cents per point, making my effective return on my active cash 12%. But that's not where things started for you. So I do have to take into it, prefacing it with the Sapphire Reserve and the 1.5 in the portal is just trying to convince yourself that you need the 2.25. And I'm not saying you don't. You go for the 2.25, but I will say, whatever ecosystem you're looking to work, that's the catch-all to get. RJ?
Matt, I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you
Yo.
a very important secret that I wish that the community would understand. There is no such thing as the best catch-all. There is the best catch-all for you, or
Yes.
me, or the viewer, or whoever. If you look at the active cash, if you look at the double cash, if you look at the Blue Business Plus, if you look at whatever, right? All of the 2x 2% cards. Flip a coin, right? Like, you might like Citi, you might not like Citi, you might like Wells Fargo, you might not, right? So there's going to be some differences. And Wells Fargo gives out cell phone protection like candy. Not everybody does, right? There are some little differences, but they're all the same. It depends on you and what you're looking for. I don't put my cell phone on anything but my Apple Card. So what cards have cell phone protection matters 0% for me, personally. Other people will only use a card with cell phone protection so they don't have to buy it, and they'll go through the hassle of dealing with that, which is different than the hassle of dealing with Apple if
Yep.
they have a problem, right? So we will answer any questions that come in that say, what is the best X, Y, or Z? But there's not a best overall in most cases. If you even look at the Venture X, the Sapphire Reserve, and the Platinum as they are now, there's going to be caveats for the best card in every respect, right? The best versus cost, the best versus AU fees, the best versus lounge access, the best versus travel credits. Like, every one of those categories may have a different winner. So
Yep.
just be careful when you're positioning the best as an overall question, right? Because that, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to answer that satisfactorily to everyone. Now, if you say, I have this card and this card, I like this hotel and this airline, what's my best option? We can come up with an answer that I think will be more satisfactory to people. So I'm not saying don't submit these questions. I'm just saying if you want us to be able to actually give you an answer that will probably satisfy what you're trying to ask, because if you have the Sapphire Reserve, my answer is different than if you don't have the Sapphire Reserve. If you have the Preferred, my answer is different, right? Because if you just have the Freedom Unlimited, yeah, you can use the portal, but you're not getting redemptions and you're not transferring points, right? So context matters for these questions because in most cases, there's not a best. So be careful when you're asking about what the best is because we'll answer it, but I don't know if our answers are going to satisfy anybody.
Yeah, we can answer to the best of our ability and still get, well, actually. But I will say the best general catch-all doesn't exist because it would be the no strings attached, no nonsensical steps that you have to do, 2.5 everything card.
Yes. Which technically, if you want to be technical about it, the Hilton Honors Business Card is 2.5 MR to 5 Hilton points, but you don't get
Yeesh.
MRs, you just get Hilton points. So it is with a standard 1 to 2 Hilton, it is 2.5. This is the math I use, guys. This is a peek inside my brain and giving
Talking
Matt a hard time.
uncapped. I'm talking, yeah,
Yeah.
well, because yes, the hotel cards, the hotel co-brand cards will have higher floors based on their ecosystems. The IHG cards, I think, have a 3x floor. The Hilton cards all have a 3x floor, except for the business card, which is just 5x everything up to $100,000 in spend. And I can go on and on. I'm not going to, but the best general catch-all card is the one that works best for you. There,